Okay.
Well, actually, I just want to thank everybody for coming on. And for those who don't know, I'm Tara Messer. This is my husband, Stacy, and we own Polished Pets Pet Grooming Salon in Dothan. We were introduced to this breakthrough technology by a friend of ours, and after we dug into it for, the science of it for about, I don't know, probably 2 months, we then decided we'd give it a try. So
We began offering this to a few of our clients, and then after that, we're suffering with skin issues, and the results that we began seeing in these pets were just totally amazing of the changes that we were seeing. And so we have brought our friend Sam here today, and she's been so kind to connect us with Dr. Lee. And Samantha is a former Marine Corps officer that's turned wellness entrepreneur who has educated and helped thousands of people improve their lives through the power of NRF2 activation for the past 6 years. So at this time, I want to turn it over to Samantha as she will introduce Dr. Lee.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tara, and thank you, Stacy. We appreciate it. We're so excited to be here with all of you. And I'm not sure if you have the ability, Stacy and Tara, to mute your own line. That would be helpful, just so we don't get any more feedback throughout the presentation. But thanks so much for that introduction, and what an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. I know we have a lot of diverse backgrounds here on the line, but I know there are several, health and wellness, either gurus or professionals. And I know we also have many people specifically in the animal business, whether it's veterinary or whether it's in the grooming business or just many different areas of animal health and wellness. So we're going to focus a little bit on that, but we're going to be sharing some information that is really applicable to every mammal, right? Every human, every animal. And so we're really excited to be bringing that to you tonight. So what we're really talking about here is biohacking through nutrigenomics. And it's all about activation, not supplementation. And I'll explain what that means a little bit more. Just real quick, before we get into a little bit of that, I'll give you a little bit about my background. As Stacy said, I'm a former Marine Corps officer, also a Division I soccer player, and my husband also was Division I lacrosse athlete, and he's also a Navy helicopter pilot. So for us, health and wellness was always at the forefront, always looking for ways to optimize our body. And this information came to us about 6 years ago, and it just made so much sense. I had never heard of a concept before of activating your own God-given genes rather than just trying to throw more supplements or vitamins. I never quite took hold of that idea of just adding a bunch of vitamins to the body. I always believed in good nutrition, but we could kind of see what was happening in the world. It seemed like we knew more and more healthy people even that were coming down with chronic illness, and to us that just didn't sit right. So when we were educated about this concept of activating the body naturally, everything clicked, and we've been educating people ever since about that. And like Stacy said, we've really been able to help thousands of people to better their lives through this concept of biohacking the body through nutrigenomics, which might sound crazy to some people if you have never heard that term. Maybe you have heard that term and you're excited about it, but we're going to try to break it down for you a little bit here. So, the biggest question I would say is, why is the health of humans and animals declining so rapidly? I don't think it's any question that disease is skyrocketing. In humans and animals, cancer is a huge one. 1 in 3 people will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States of humans. And things like neurological diseases in humans, things like autism are skyrocketing. So it's affecting everybody. In our animals, it's things like allergies and, hip dysplasia and cancer, right? Cancer in our pets and in our dogs, all different issues that are happening, and they're getting worse and worse. And you would think, living in this modern era, that we would be getting better, right? That we would be getting actually healthier because we have more access to information. We have more funding for research. We have more just modern technology. So why is it that we are just getting on a path of feeling worse and worse and living less healthily? Just one more reminder, if anybody is able to mute themselves because I don't have that ability while I'm here in the present mode. So if you can mute yourself, that would be great. It's in the top right corner of your video there. Let me see. I might be able to X out of here and do that. Okay, so moving on. One of the reasons that we are not feeling so well, one of the reasons that we are being really plagued by disease and illness at a skyrocketing rate is because we're really being hijacked. We're being hijacked by the environment that we live in and the food that we're eating and things that we're being exposed to that, quite frankly, we can't avoid. Of course, you can always eat better. You can control your nutrition. However, even eating a whole food, organic diet in places like the United States, that can be hard to access really true, good, pure food because things are just compromised now because of all the herbicides and pesticides in our crops, because of the added chemicals to our water. All of these things are causing our body to have an imbalance. There's air pollution that we're all exposed to. We're constantly breathing in this pollution, which is just causing damage to happen to our bodies inside our cells quicker and quicker. The processed foods that people are eating and also our animals are consuming, it's causing damage. You know, our bodies were meant to eat whole food nutrition and nutrients, and that's just by and large not what's the mainstream diet is of our society today, and that's causing a problem. There's things, of course, that affect humans, but they also affect animals like EMFs, right? We're all using our cell phones. We have all this technology swirling around us, and we know it's definitely affecting humans because we're having our cell phone up to our head all the time, but our pets are right here too. They're here with the Wi-Fi. They're being affected whether we know it or can see it or not. So it's just this concept of being hijacked and how can we biohack to help the body instead? You know, hijacking is when you take, taking something over and using it for a destructive purpose. And in this sense, we're being hijacked, all the time. And physically, emotionally, biochemically, with the toxins, like I said, EMFs, all these things. But we're going to show you and talk about how you can biohack, basically optimize your genetic potential and do it through nutrients, through natural compounds, and this concept of really activating your own genes to allow your body to perform better. So when you see all that, all that air pollution and you see the herbicides and the pesticides and you talk about the EMFs swirling around us, what does that actually relate to inside the body? Well, it's called oxidative stress. It's free radical damage. It's basically more toxins than your body can get rid of. And it leads to hundreds of illnesses and diseases. The very simple explanation or a visual is that apple. You cut an apple open and you leave it out on the counter for a couple minutes or maybe a half hour, and it's going to turn brown, right? Because it's oxidizing. The same thing is happening when we breathe in oxygen. As we age, it increases. Our oxidation is happening at a faster rate, but it's compounded by all of these toxins in our environment and our food that I just described. And it's leading to just about every issue in the body, every disease that you can think of. You see them listed here, things like cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, asthma, arthritis, skin issues like psoriasis, dermatitis. Some of these things are things that animals as well are experiencing at a very increasing rate. So what are some of the solutions for oxidative stress? Well, for reducing it. Well, traditionally, you could do a couple things. You could wait until the disease itself presents itself, right? And you go into a doctor or a vet or a health professional, and you ask them to diagnose and usually treat or prescribe to kind of put a Band-Aid or help with the symptoms that you're dealing with. That's kind of more the traditional route of how to deal with what happens with oxidative stress when it becomes an actual illness. But in more recent decades, people have gotten onto the idea of antioxidants. We know that the issue we're dealing with is free radicals bombarding our cells and causing damage. So if you put an antioxidant in there, that neutralizes a free radical. The only issue is that the way we're consuming antioxidants these days is by trying to, drink the super juices, by the vitamin C, the vitamin E, those antioxidant supplements and vitamins. And unfortunately, even if you're eating blueberries, which is a very good thing to do, and your acai berries and eating all these antioxidants, your body can only consume so much of it and really use so much. And really, these are direct antioxidants. So it's like one free radical to one antioxidant molecule. Well, when you have trillions upon trillions upon trillions of free radicals bombarding your cells every second of the day, you don't stand a chance with that 1-to-1 ratio. It's kind of like if you had your house was on fire and you had a little Dixie cup of water and you kept filling it up trying to douse that fire and put that fire out in your house. It's not going to work too well. But what we know, what science tells us, actually in the mid-90s, a very significant pathway was discovered that is inside of every protein of, or every cell of every mammal, is the NRF2 pathway. And if you can properly and effectively activate that pathway, then your body becomes an antioxidant factory. It now allows your body to eliminate free radicals not on a 1-to-1 scale, but a 1 million to 1 scale. So that's eliminating up to 1 million free radicals every second of the day. And so imagine the impact that'll have. That's sort of like having, instead of that little Dixie cup of water, it's like having the fire department come and put a hose in every room of that burning house that you have. And it's going to squelch that fire, and it's going to allow your body to work the way it's supposed to. What we know specifically about NRF2 is that it turns on the body's production of some key enzymes, specifically catalase, glutathione, and SOD are the really big ones. And the more you research about them, you're going to realize that these are so critical in allowing your body to function and optimally and squelch that fire of free radicals. Specifically glutathione, it's considered the master antioxidant enzyme in the body. If you know anything about that, as far as athletic performance, which is very a big thing for animals, of course, then you know that it is, and also neurological disease, glutathione is a very, very big deal, and getting the body to produce its own is a much more effective tool than just trying to inject or supplement with glutathione, synthetic versions of glutathione, and that's what NRF2 activation does. So what we're talking about specifically is a product called Protandim. It is the first ever proven NRF2 activator to reduce oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days, and it's just the combination of 5 ancient herbs, things that have been used for centuries, things that you might already be using for yourself or for your patients or friends who use them. Things like turmeric, milk thistle, green tea, ashwagandha, and bacopa. And as you can see from the numbers here, it not only lowers oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days, it also increases that SOD by 30%. It's been shown to increase catalase by 54%, and that glutathione, that master antioxidant enzyme, by 300%. I won't go into too much on that next line about how it's been proven to extend life, because I'm going to let Dr. Lee go into that a little bit more. But guys, this is very exciting stuff, because it's just 5 herbs in a certain combination that unlocks something so powerful in every mammal. We're not just talking about humans, we're talking about in mammals. And real quick before, some people will say, well, I already take those extracts individually, and I may or may not be seeing such a tremendous benefit. How could this be so amazing? Well, one of the peer-reviewed research that was done on Protandim, you'll see later in this presentation that there are now 25 peer-reviewed studies on PubMed.gov. One of them has concluded that they found that it's the synergy of that 5 herb combination that actually each one of those herbs becomes 18 times more effective when they're used in synergy in the specific ratio of Protandim than when taken separately. So that's a very prominent and big synergistic effect there, and that's why we're seeing so much benefit with these 5 herbs when used in combination here. So the history, sorry, got a baby getting a little fussy. The history of Protandim is important. I think it's important for everybody to understand that this was not just a company, this was not just some company looking for some product to sell or market to people. It really came not by chance. It was very intentional what they were trying to do, but it was a very remarkable outcome when they put those 5 herbs together. Something not even what they expected, much more than what they expected. So it was just a biotech company out of Denver, Colorado. And in 2003, a group of scientists led by Dr. Joe McCord developed Protandim, that 5 combination of herbs. And it was in 2005, ABC Primetime News caught wind of what this discovery was. They found out that, or they heard the claim that Protandim could reduce oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. And they didn't believe it. They wanted to go investigate and basically, highlight this company as a fraud, right? And so they went into the lab, and you can see that report. Maybe some of you have. If you haven't, I highly recommend that you ask the person who invited you here to see the clip of that report. It aired back in 2005, but it's still relevant because it's never been duplicated. Nobody's been able to do what Protandim has done and what they investigated and saw on national television back in 2005. They took a blood test before and after using Protandim. They were supposed to give it to John Quinones, the lead investigator, for a full 30 days, and he came back in half that time to reevaluate the blood, and his oxidative stress came back down by 45%. So as you can imagine, the people that were watching that, they were very intrigued. People wanted this product. At the time, it was being sold through traditional means, places like GNC, Vitamin Shop. It's not a drug, so it's not going to go through pharmaceutical reps. It's an all-natural combination. But you know what? From 2003 to 2010, the world didn't quite understand oxidative stress yet. They were just finally starting to catch on to the idea of things being organic or antioxidants. So it sat on the shelves, kind of misunderstood, next to bottles of vitamin C that were $10, and this is a $40 product. So what they decided was that in 2010, they decided it would be a better channel to have individual distributors who represent LifeVantage, the company who produces it, to go educate each other, educate their networks, educate their friends, their family, their coworkers, maybe other health professionals. We now have over 1,000 medical professionals who are independent distributors with LifeVantage, because when they see this and they really research this and they look at the peer-reviewed studies, it becomes very obvious to them that this is a tool that is going to be very prominent now and in the future of wellness. So since 2010, it has been sold strictly through independent distributors exclusively. And it basically, it grew, it skyrocketed from 0 to 200 million in sales off the sales primarily of that $40 bottle alone in the first 4 years of going into this model. So it's very exciting, and people's lives are being changed, both animals and humans alike. And what I'd really like to do now is turn it over to a very special man and a good friend of mine, Dr. Lee Seward. And Dr. Lee is, you can see his full bio, part of his bio here, but he is a doctor of veterinary medicine and spent several years doing, as a primary vet. But then he went over to the research side and was very prominent and in many of the major developments for animals. In fact, he was the lead developer of HeartGuard for canines, and I'm sure many of you know of that product. And he, about 6 years ago, saw this information as well and took hold of it. And what he's seen in that time is tremendous, and he's a wealth of knowledge in the field of nutrigenomics and helping people to understand why biohacking the body through nutrigenomics is the best strategy, especially today, in optimizing your health for long-term prevention and just lifespan and longevity. So, Dr. Lee, are you able to unmute yourself?
I'm unmuted, I think.
Great. Yes, you are. And we can see you. Good. So thank you so much for being here, and I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you on this. It's a real honor. It sounds like I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if somebody's unmuted. Anyway, I hope you can all hear me okay. As I said, thanks, Sam, for getting me on with you. And wow, you've already covered everything, so I don't have anything left to say. Those of you that don't know Sam, she has been said earlier, she's a Marine. She said former. I've never heard a Marine describe themselves as former. Once you're a Marine, right, Sam? So she was a Marine Corps officer, and her husband, as she said, is a Navy pilot, helicopter pilot, something I share with him. I was a helicopter pilot back when I was in the Army. The other thing is that so you've got a family with a Marine Corps officer and a Navy officer as the parents. I can imagine there's some interesting discussions there about which service is the superior one. And I just want to clarify things really quickly, is that actually the superior service is the Army. So anyway, I saw her shaking her head on that one.
I have to
Tremendous
unmute
people.
on that one. I have to unmute. No way there. Super Navy beat Army.
So I knew that would stir you up. Sam is such, I admire her so much, and Ray also, all that they have done. They have 4 beautiful children that they're homeschooling, and she's raising the family. It's just a tremendous thing. And besides that, their entrepreneurs have invested themselves in making a success of this business. Great leaders have brought this information and the science and the technology to so many people and helping them in their lives. That's just really impressive and really person that we admire and follow. Before I go any further, I'd like to introduce my wife, Rebecca, wife of 47 years. Becky and I doing this business and have been doing it for the past 6 years. We first, well, let me go back a little bit, just a little bit about what Sam said about what I had done. So when I was in private practice, after getting out of veterinary school, we were doing some work with a pharmaceutical company, doing some field trials. And they were working on a substance, a new chemical entity for animal health. And I learned about it and I read about it, and I found out that this was going to be a revolution in animal health, this compound. I thought, wow, this is an opportunity to get more involved. So I was lucky enough to get hired by the company that had the rights, the patents on that technology, Merck Research Labs, and spent a career there developing animal health products from that. And by doing that, got to participate in developing the most significant and the biggest animal health product ever. Talk about timing. Country Bumpkin fell into this and was involved in probably the biggest and most important animal health product development ever. So fast forward to about 6 years ago, Rebecca and I were on an airplane headed to San Antonio, Texas, to a family wedding. Plane was full. A woman sits down next to, curly-haired woman sits down next to Becky, and they start chatting and became great friends before we took off. And about a half hour into the flight, the lady pulls out her iPad, and guess what? She showed us the ABC Primetime Investigative Report. Those of you that have not seen it, ask the person that invited you to watch this to get you to a link to watch that. It is an unbelievable testimonial and proof about the technology that we have access to. So when I watched that, I had the old deja vu. I said, wow, this is another potential opportunity to be involved in something that's going to change the health of humans. Didn't know there were going to be an animal product at that time. It turned out that the meeting that this lady was going to in San Antonio, Texas, was a LifeVantage meeting where they were launching Pet Tandem. They were launching the animal health, the dog product. So we looked at the technology. I'm a geek, science geek, so I went and looked at the papers that were available at the time. I investigated Dr. McCord, found out that he was the father of free radical biology, one of the most cited scientific publishers out there, well respected all over the world. And the other people involved had similar credentials. So I told Becky, you know, this technology is so important, we've got to start taking it. And not only that, we've got to be involved in getting it to other people to help them. And so that's how we got started. Samantha, if you'll give me the next slide. So one of the things that's happened over the years that we've been involved is a continuation of the research and the science, a constant reinforcement on the importance of the technology of NRF2 activation. A couple of years ago, well, about a year and a half ago, a paper was published by the National Institute on Aging, which is part of the National Institute of Health, federal agency, that was done a study that had taken close to 20 years, about 19 years the study had been ongoing, where the National Institute on Aging had identified, looking at the scientific literature, had identified compounds that might affect the longevity of individuals. And one of the compounds, they looked at both pharmaceuticals and at natural products, and they selected them based on their knowledge from the scientific literature, what had been found out about these that might relate to aging, or I should say anti-aging. And they selected Protandim because of that study that Sam mentioned, where we know Protandim reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days, and even more the longer you take it. Based on that and the other studies that had been done, they took Protandim and put it in the study. And what they found was that Protandim, NRF2, is the only natural product that reduces or that affects longevity, that increases longevity and the well-being during that increased lifespan. And in this study specifically, they found that there was a statistically significant 7% increase in the longevity of male mice. There was also a trend towards increased lifespan in the female mice. A couple of things about that. Of course, National Institute on Aging and the National Institute of Health are really looking for, they were studying human products that were pharmaceuticals primarily used in humans, and natural products as it relates to humans. But the model they used was mice, because obviously doing lifespan modeling in humans is not possible. So is not this just as applicable to dogs and animals as it is to humans? This model is just as applicable because it is based on the fact that all animals have the same basic system of NRF2 activation in order to express genes that produce the enzymes that Sam mentioned that reduce oxidative stress by reducing free radicals inside the cells. So this study, 7% increase in the longevity of male mice is just as applicable to our animals as it is to us. So it's a critical issue here that demonstrates that all these things relate to one another. So oxidative stress. So how important is it? Well, if you looked at the ABC Primetime Investigation, you'll see that Dr. McCord talked about oxidative stress as being a primary agent, a primary issue in the aging of people. And oxidative stress has been, over the last 20 years, one of the most studied issues in health. I'll give you an example. Here, as you can see on this slide, oxidative stress, if you searched it on PubMed.gov, again, that's the National Institute of Health's library on medical science. If you looked at that, you can see that there's, in this particular slide, there's 198,000 studies. 198,000 studies, that's a heck of a lot of studies. And in fact, just a few days since this picture was made, there are now 208,000 studies that are published in PubMed.gov. Well, when Becky and I joined in 2013, there were 90,000. So this is the most studied issue in medical science today. It's just, it is such a hot button. And the reason is because oxidative stress is involved in the aging process. It's one of the primary issues in the aging process. And it is involved in hundreds of diseases. Hundreds of diseases, many of them age-related diseases, but many of them are just chronic diseases that you're all familiar with. And that, in these studies on oxidative stress, the vast majority of these studies were done in models. That is, animal models and cellular and other models in order to study oxidative stress that are just as applicable to animals as they are to humans. So this whole body of tens of thousands of studies is supporting the fact that oxidative stress is a critical issue, not only in humans, but in animals. And so this is something that really means that the technology we have is important. So it's so important, in fact, that after the ABC primetime investigation and the publication of Dr. McCord's clinical study showing that Protandim reduced oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days, institutions all over the world begin to study Protandim and oxidative stress. Here's a list on the slide of a number of institutions and agencies that have looked at oxidative stress. It's just a tip of the iceberg. There's many others: Mayo Clinic, Colorado State University, my alma mater, all been involved in studying oxidative stress and Protandim specifically, and how it relates to oxidative stress, and confirmed the initial work that Dr. McCord published about reducing oxidative stress, and elucidated what Dr. McCord had elucidated in that NRF2 activation is the mechanism by which the body reduces oxidative stress. NRF2 activation through Protandim and other means stimulates the NRF2 protein to activate what's called the survival genes in our and the animal genome. Those survival genes produce those enzymes that Samantha mentioned, as well as doing a number of other things, stimulating proteins that address inflammation, and also a cascade of proteins that reduce fibrosis. So these are the basis for the patents for Protandim Nerve 2. So institutions have published their results on studying these outside institutions, not funded by our company, have published results on Protandim. And on PubMed.gov, for example, on the main Medline search, that's PubMed.gov, there are 25 papers discussing various aspects of Protandim, reducing oxidative stress and activating the NRF2 pathway, and what the impact are on various things, including various diseases. One of the importance of this is, again, that most of these studies were done in models that are just as applicable to animals as they are to humans. And the other thing is that only, I think, about 3 of these studies have any direct involvement by LifeVantage, the company. And the rest of them were done by other institutions using their own resources. So they're studying it without any prodding by the company, just out of the pure interest in this dramatic development of having a product, Protandim Nerve 2, branded product that they can study that reduces oxidative stress. This is unheard of in the supplement industry, that branded product has peer-reviewed studies published and highlighted in PubMed. I know of only maybe 1 or 2 other supplements in the history that have any studies, and nothing like we have that have been published like this. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let me give you an example. While PubMed.gov, of course, is aimed at humans, there are a few studies on PubMed.gov that relate to animals. I think there's close to 800 on dogs, 400 on horses, over 2,000 on cattle, etc. But if you go to other search engines, such as Google Scholar. That's scholar.google.com. That's not Google, that's Google Scholar. Google crap, Google Scholar, technical information. So, but just to give you an idea there are over 2 million, there's almost close to 3 million publications on oxidative stress and 128,000 on oxidative stress in dogs. What that tells me is that oxidative stress is not just the hot button in humans, it's the hot button in dogs. So again, just to reiterate, this is an unheard of thing to have a technology by the branded product published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal and find its way onto PubMed. So what do we got next here? Hey, there we go. Protandem. Protandem technology has been put into a formulation for dogs, and it's called Pet Tandem. Pet Tandem, as I already mentioned, was launched in 2013. It had a different trademark for a little while, but it's the exact same product. It was launched in 2013. It has the same technology that's in Pet Tandem, Protandem. So Protandem and Pet Tandem have the same basic technology, but Pet Tandem adds a little extra. Pet Tandem also has omega-3 fatty acids, and it also has avian sternum cartilage as a source of joint health products, such as type 2 collagen, chondroitin glucosamine, and hyaluronic acid. Just really a superior product formulation, and really an amazing product. It actually has some publications on it. There was an initial publication on Pet Tandem that, again, this one was sponsored by LifeVantage, and I think it's on the next slide. What they did is they studied 80 dogs. It was a double-blinded study, meaning that the dog owners did not know which of the animals had Pet Tandem and which of them had placebo. The investigators that were handling the information did not know which dogs had Pet Tandem, which ones had placebo. And in fact, this particular study, it was actually triple blinded, because the dogs didn't know which one of them were getting placebo, which one of them were getting Pet Tandem. That's a researcher joke. But anyway, let me just tell you what the summary of the results of this study were. The results with 76 dogs completing the study. Here's the conclusions of the scientist. Dietary supplement of dogs for over 60 days with Pet Tandem resulted in significant improvement in overall owner perception of pet behavior, as well as notable trends for the increase in catalase and reduction in T-bars, a measurement of oxidative stress, and improved cognitive function. These results demonstrate important wellness benefits of reducing oxidative stress in dogs. I think there's several key things from this conclusion of the authors. That is that proven to reduce oxidative stress in dogs, so that it's doing the same thing. The technology is doing the same thing in dogs that it does in humans. Secondly, catalase increase. Catalase is what? As a result of NRF2 activation. So we've got the exact same mechanism of action as Protandem in animals with Pet Tandem. And finally, one of the most interesting things about it is that the owners were able to identify which dogs had the active, because the owners that dogs were getting Pet Tandem commented about how much more active their dogs were. There were some dogs in the study that had some conditions mobility conditions, etc. And they resolved during the study, and the owners noted, and there were some dogs that had some cognitive issues, and the owners noted that these conditions all improved and the dogs actually were doing better. So it's pretty significant finding, and relates back to all the other data that we have on this technology, whether it be it Protandim Nerve 2 or Pet Tandem. So in the next study, in the next slide, we see a number of animals before and after the use of Pet Tandem. Let me just say that, of course, I'm not making, nor is the company making any claims for the cure, prevention, treatment, or diagnosis and mitigation of any disease or condition. But we can tell you this, that the reduction of oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days in humans and by a significant amount in animals results in better health, which allows the animals to improve other conditions. Back when we joined LifeVantage, we had a dog, Sheila, our favorite dog, loyal dog. We'd had her for a number of years, and she was nearing the end of her life. She had a significant, at this point in time in her life, she had a significant metabolic disorder. This disorder was resulting in her having a complete loss of hair. She had muscle wasting. She had also other conditions having to do with her mobility. She got to the point where she could no longer get out of her bed in the morning to take care of business, and during the day, I would have to carry her outside. It was breaking our heart to think that we were having to make a decision. We were at that point where we knew that the end was near. We were going to have to do something. Well, whether it's the good Lord or Southwest Airlines that got us to sit next to Jennifer Bishop, the curly-haired woman that introduced us to LifeVantage, you can take your own position on that. But we sure think the good Lord brought us together for this. We started Sheila, our dog, on Pet Tandem, and within probably 6 weeks, improvement started dramatically. And within 2 months, she was getting up on her own, going out to take care of her business, getting her mobility back. Her hair coat started coming back. And within 90 days, I saw a hair coat on this dog that she had never had before in her life. It was just dramatic. Yes, we were treating her for that metabolic condition, but the progress she had been making before we had given the Pet Tandem was nothing like this. It was just truly amazing. She was able to move again. She was able to run again. One night, Becky was out of town, and it was late in the evening. I was going out to check the horses. It was dark. I went out in the barnyard, and Sheila went with me. She went out to check all the rabbit holes and everything that she usually did and went and make her rounds. And I had the barnyard lights on. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see something moving. All of a sudden, I see this fox running across the barnyard with Sheila chasing her. Just, I mean, you just can't imagine the difference between those when we started 90 days and 90 days later. We really believe that we got at least a year, maybe more, of her companionship. And it's just, you can't put a price on what that is worth to us. So we really believe that Pet Tandem is really a miracle for us. It's a miracle, but we know how it works. So is that a miracle or is that science? Well, we think it's both. It is in a great formulation, like I told you before, with all those additional additives. This is our dog Hap. He's new to us, and he's a little bashful, but he loves his Pet Tandem. So anyway, I really believe in the product and the technology, and it's just something we just use every day on ourselves and on Hap. But it's not just for dogs. Like we talked to earlier, all this data, this huge avalanche of information that we have about Nerve 2 activation and its importance is pointed out in our recent paper out of Washington State University that it is the most significant medical breakthrough in the history of medicine. That's kind of paraphrasing, but NRF2 activation is that important. And it's applicable not just to humans, dogs, but also horses and other animals. Horses, as you can imagine, like dogs, they're exposed to so many things outside. You know your dog, and those of you that have horses, I mean, they stick their nose into everything that's out there. They eat things that they, like we do, they eat things that they probably shouldn't. And they don't wear shoes. I mean, well, horses do, but they don't protect them. Dogs don't wear shoes. They don't wear clothes, so they're exposed to solar radiation. They're exposed to all the chemicals that they absorb through their skin and their feet. So you can just imagine all the toxins, all the exposures that exacerbate oxidative stress. And people have adopted using this technology in horses widely, and we're seeing dramatic results in the improvement in horses' health and what that results in. So people might say, well, we don't really have a horse product, but in reality, we really do, and it looks just like this. So horses are also an animal that people are widely using this technology. So with that, Sam, I'll turn it back over to you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to all you guys. And you guys are in the right place at the right time. Thanks, Sam.
Dr. Lee, I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your wisdom. It's I know everybody is probably very excited to hear what they just heard you speak about, and I'm sure people are dying to ask some more questions. I don't know that we'll have the opportunity for questions right here, but anything that anybody would like to ask, please write it down, jot it down, get back with the person who invited you, and definitely we can get those answered. We will link you to all the information, all the resources. I do want to just make a final note here. Just going back real quick to this slideshow, I know that we do have a lot of, like I said, entrepreneurs, maybe small business owners watching this information tonight. And even if you're not, you really got to take hold of what's going on in the world right now. And basically, Warren Buffett kind of puts it this way: if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will literally work until the day you die. And also, we know that 95% of people won't be able to retire by the age of 65. So the reason I bring that up is because we all right now are looking, or have been presented with this information that if you need time to go research it yourself and see it with your own eyeballs, definitely do that. But we're standing in front of a technology here that's not only life-changing today, but is going to have life-changing effects for decades to come, both in humans and animals, and it is completely untapped. We are a part of a very small community of people that even know about this information right now, and we get to be the pioneers of this information, bringing it for the first time to the people that we know and love and care about, or the animals that we know, love, and care about. And so I say this to you just to put it in your mind that if there's something that you might be looking for, especially as an entrepreneur, I know how it is being the daughter of a small business owner my entire life. My father has had a very successful traditional manufacturing company in Pennsylvania for over 33 years. But when you are a small business owner, you are the end-all be-all. There's really not a whole lot of ways to kind of get out of that, right? Unless you can sell your business for millions of dollars, which not a whole lot of people have the opportunity to do. It's really hard to retire from that type of thing. But it's also hard to make any kind of additional income because you're already putting all your blood, sweat, and tears into your primary business. So the thing I'll just have you consider with what we're doing here is that here we are kind of after hours, right, on a Thursday evening. And we have incredible resources in LifeVantage. People like Dr. Lee Seward, who's a wealth of information and has so many years of expertise in this field. We have all different sorts of backgrounds that meld together and work together to share this information. And now with modern technology, we're all sitting maybe in the comfort of our own home or in our office or somewhere, getting eyes on this information, and we can help educate people in a way that doesn't take too much time away from the things that we're already doing. And so by sharing this education with people, you're going to be able to not only bless lives with animals and humans, but you're also going to be able to, if you'd like to, create an income, either a side income or a replacement income, like many of us have already done, and you can do that so that you have options going forward. I know most of you who got into whatever business that you're currently in, you did it because you probably had a passion to do so, and you also wanted to provide a good life for your family. But at a certain point, it does become a job, right? It becomes a job to pay the bills. So just consider the option of having something on the side that already sort of resonates with what you're currently doing. You're already helping people anyway. You're already educating people in the businesses that you're currently doing. Why not consider, just putting into the nooks and crannies of those off hours that you have to educate, to create an income stream that could also benefit your family going forward. So this shows the nutrigenomics market is projected to be a $17 billion industry by 2023. So this is, Dr. Lee showed you how skyrocketing those numbers were on the study of oxidative stress, and nutrigenomics is going to be the most powerful solution to oxidative stress. And what we just shared with you with Protandim, specifically the patented herbal formula of Protandim that has 25 peer-reviewed studies on PubMed today, that is at the forefront of nutrigenomics. So this is exciting stuff. Right here on the Today Show, they said the latest trend in nutrition isn't a fad diet or newly discovered supplement. It's your own DNA. And then Fox News said that nutrigenomics is changing everything. Where we once thought we were powerless is now an area over which we have at least some control. The ability to use nutrition to affect our genes means that we're no longer at the mercy of our DNA. And that is such a beautiful thing, because we feel like for a long time, I think we've felt a little bit helpless, because you see these healthy people coming down with XYZ and you think it's just, well, that's just my genes. I can't control it. We now know that the body can change and can adapt. And when you can activate it, especially in this way through the NRF2 pathway, it can actually do amazing things. We've seen it, we've studied it, and we would just invite you to take a look. So the final thing just to take away is that this isn't an antioxidant. It's not a supplement. It is an activator. And of course, like it says here, health problems are like weeds. You have to get to the root to keep them from popping back up. And I know if you're a health professional here, you know that. The question is, what's the most advantageous way to do that? And we believe that is definitely through this concept of activation. And so we just really appreciate all of your time tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Of course, you can take a look further into the company if you would like to get back with the person who introduced you to this, and they can point you to the website. You can see we're in many different countries, but really we're just at the tip of the spear. It's a very small group of people, even around the world, that even know about this information right now. So it's an exciting time to be biohacking through nutrigenomics, specifically with LifeVantage. So thank you, and Stacy and Tara, our hosts, thank you guys so much. I'll turn it back over to you if you have any final thoughts or comments.
No, I appreciate it, Dr. Lee and you, Samantha, for your time and sharing with us tonight about this wonderful product. Just the things that we're seeing it changing pets' lives, and then the owners catching on and seeing what it does for their pets. And we've already had one that's jumped in and started taking it herself. So that's what it's all about, is them seeing what this has done for their pet, and it's just amazing. I'm just blown away by the product itself, and actually what it does to the body, turning on the body to actually, heal itself from the inside out. I mean, we've seen pets that they've tried everything, from A to Z, and this is totally activating the pet. Is just watching some of them come in every 2 weeks, some of them every 4 to 6 weeks. So we see them pretty often. So we see the progress, and it's pretty amazing. We appreciate y'all's time tonight, and everyone that joined us. Thank you. And any questions, do get back with whoever invited you tonight, and we get some more information to you, or get you signed up and get you activated tonight. But yes, once again, thank y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Tara.